Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them. They never rent quality flicks. They always pick the most intellectually devoid movie on the racks.
And now, on with the show.
Do or Die. A new kind of game.
I have hired 6 teams of assassins. You are their quarry.
Pat Morita stars as Kane, an international crime lord with a score to settle.
You are dead.
Nothing to it.
Right.
Starring Eric Estrada, Donna Spear, Roberta Vasquez, Bruce Penhall, and Pat Morita as Kane.
We get hazardous duty pay for this. I hope we live long enough to spend it.
Do or Die. Get the job done.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net's Loose Cannon. And this is the summer of Sidaris. And I am your host, Mike the Birdman. But I'm not alone as I follow through the big aisles of the Twig Video Store where we look at the movies of yesteryear. But this summer we are focusing on the films, and I hesitate to use that word, of Andy Sidaris. I'm joined by my compatriot, my corpulent co-host and brother from the city of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer. Corpulent is a nice way of saying fat.
Yeah, just like me. I'm also joined by the smartest man that I know in the state of Michigan.
I'm Pollyea.
So yes, guys, we are back here on the summer of Sidaris, where we are going through the Bullets, Babes, and Bombs filmography of Emmy Award-winning director Andy Sidaris. And we have some good movies.
Not Oscar.
No, not Oscar, but Emmys.
Emmy
for sports.
For sports. It counts, and that's important.
Yes.
So these movies, oh boy. So where do we fucking start? Yeah, we've watched a bunch. So if you've been following the show for quite some time, we've seen Malibu Express, Hard Ticket to Hawaii, Picasso Trigger, Savage Beach, Guns. This week we're covering 2 new ones. We're going to be covering Do or Die, which came out in 1991, and Hard Hunted, which came out in 1992. And again, this is part of Andy's Bullets, Bombs, and Babes series, where they have former Playboy Playmates or Penthouse Pets get guns, they get explosives, they team up with the guy from Chips, Eric Estrada, and hilarity ensues. And before we start tonight's show, this is a show that's been a long time gestating. I'm just going to say you don't know when this was recorded, but we have been trying to record this show for several weeks. I have tried to watch these movies I have watched these movies 3 fucking times in the last 3 or 4 days.
So you're an expert.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened. I really don't. They all just kind of blend together. And it's weird because I expected Sidaris' movies to get better in some ways, worse in others as the filmography went on. Like his last movie we're going to be talking about is called Lethal, Ladies Return to Savage Beach, which came out in 1998. And I don't know where this series is going to go because parts of this I really like, and other parts, it's just bad. The other movies, like Savage Beach, was honestly a fucking treat. I really liked that one. Mm-hmm. Guns was not bad, although the random Chinese moment was a little bit out there.
I think I remember we mentioned on the last show that there was a shift. It's weird. Guns looked visually better and looked like it had an upgrade in budget. These 2 movies look like they lowered the budget again.
Yeah, like it's strange. So we bring back the characters of Donna and Nicole and Edie for these, and this one took me off guard. They saw Eric Estrada.
We should mention we're doing Do or Die first. We're doing them in chronological order.
Yeah. So in Do or Die, randomly Eric Estrada's a good guy now. Aaron, you're the expert on these. Is this the same character or just the same actor?
Same actor, different character.
Okay, thought so.
So think of it like a mod, or nowadays we have American Horror Story, right? The series on was it FX or AMC, whatever has that.
Yeah.
And it's most of the time it's the same actors, but it's an anthology. So every season they're playing different people, but it's the same people playing them every time. Mm-hmm. So it's like this. He had a repertoire of actors that he would use over and over and over again in different roles.
Yeah. So when we started covering these movies, there was a very loose continuity between them. There was the Molokai Cargo where Donna and Nicole, what was the name of the other girl, Aaron, who was with them before, who left in...
Now, you see, I haven't even thought about her. That's, there's Donna and there's, come on. Put me on the spot. And see, I haven't thought about it in a while. I haven't thought about it in a while.
Abilene.
Well, there's the Abilenes, but there's Donna, and then there's Hope Marie Carlton. What is her character's name? It's
Taryn, yeah.
Yeah. So
I have to remember the actress's name first, and then it's fine.
So when this started coming together, we started to get a loose continuity and figuring out that these guys are like government agents of some unknown agency. I'm guessing CIA or CIA adjacent. And the Andy Sidaris cinematic universe was born, so to speak, long before Marvel.
It's the Lethal Ladies.
Yeah, that's right. The Lethal Ladies. And here it gets a little too convoluted for its own good. Basically, the long story short for the do or die plot is an Asian businessman of some type, but played by Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita, comes to Hawaii and says, "Hey, Donna and Nicole, you suck. Because you have made my life hard, I'm going to kill you. But first, I just donated a bunch of money to this hospital, so it's cool. But hold your horses. I got better news for you. I'm going to send 16 teams of assassins after you, and they're going to come after you beginning tomorrow morning at like noon." They show up at 8 o'clock in the morning because I guess time zone difference. And if you survive, you will satisfy my sense of honor. If you defeat them, then I will let you live. Blah, blah, blah. And you get this almost Mega Man boss rush of what seems like vignettes almost. It's almost like it's a bunch of short mini action sequences stuck together by a very, very loose plot.
Yes, absolutely it is.
I was wondering, was this movie assembled out of outtakes and extra scenes that they filmed for other movies that they just didn't use previously?
It does not seem that way. And the way you can tell is at earlier than this movie, Roberta Vasquez was pregnant, and her body is just a little different. I'm not shaming her at all. It's
okay.
It's filming.
She actually has a different look. And you can tell that they actually filmed all of this at approximately the same time.
Okay. So, now, one of the things that immediately stands out to me in Do or Die is it gets progressively goofier, where this is where Andy Sidaris took off the training wheels, and I literally think he said, you know what? Fuck it. What can I get away with? At one point, they shoot down a helicopter with what looks like a glorified blow dart gun.
No, wait. Is it the best part of the movie where they use a walking cane that has a missile launcher inside of it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like,
how can you diss this movie for having that? That is amazing.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how I can fit one in my cane.
Yeah. But this has like people that are showing up for the first time in Andy Sidaris movies too, that are actually kind of interesting to be here. That they're going to show up in other movies. Let's put it that way. But
yeah,
this wasn't the first one to have its own theme song sung, but that seems to have started to become a trend, right?
Yes.
I would actually argue that between these two movies, between Do or Die and Hard Hunted, and even with the previous stuff, I think the soundtracks actually get progressively better, which actually kind of struck me as a little bit strange.
Well, it's that you were saying, about like you figured that the filming would get better, and that is not necessarily the case. what has, like you said, gotten better, it's like they're using more original music. Yes, they've got the incidental stuff and the stock music, but each movie for the last, at least, what was it, 2 now? No, Savage Beach had a theme, but there was more live singing in the last film, and then this one, and then the next one as well. So,
well, yeah, and it helps that Cynthia Brimhall is actually like a singer, and
yeah,
so she can bring her own stuff to this.
So
a lot of the people that are. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, he lucked out in that he cast somebody good looking who could also sing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
One of the other things that like kind of struck me with like this one is like, I'm trying to figure how do I want to phrase this, and I'm trying hard not to be offensive.
Well, maybe let Aaron finish his thought while you figure yours out.
Yeah, because this is going to be not controversial, but I don't like it. So, Aaron, please.
Okay, well, there's a lot of people that by this point have been associated with Andy Sidaris in one way or another that are now coming back and actually, there's a lot of schlock movie makers that a lot of people get their starts with, and they'll do favors for later on. It's kind of that way with Andy Sidaris as well, that he gave a lot of people these chances to build a career. So a lot of people that you normally wouldn't expect to pop into a movie at all, like a major movie, let's say a movie that actually has like a theatrical release, suddenly start showing up. So because they want to be a part of it, they've heard all these different people. Like Pandora Peaks is in this movie, of all people. Pandora Peaks is an adult star from the 1990s.
That's the name would sound
like it. and she is noted in this film, being that she does obviously get her top off, but that's kind of odd that she's in this. And then Ava Cadell is in this, and she was like a self-help radio person. She's like the announcer on K-Sexy. That like reads horoscopes.
Oh, that makes
sense. She's actually like a real therapist type person with like self-help books and all that. So it's why is she here? But it kind of makes sense in a weird way that she's probably just getting like extra exposure being here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
So one thing that I noticed about this, and I think this is what made me like these a little bit less than the previous ones. The other ones, yeah, they had their like sexy moments and they kind of made sense. The lone exception being the sex on the motorcycle scene from one of the last movies. Well, while it looked really cool, like I'm not even going to deny that moment. These ones just felt like sexy for no reason. Like there's one moment, and I'm pretty sure it's Do or Die, where Nicole pours salt on a guy's chest, then takes a shot of tequila, and I'm thinking, that's not sexy. That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And
I know. I yelled out, like, that's not sanitary.
Yeah, like that. Like it's just, the thing is, as much as I appreciate seeing a naked human female form, I mean, I'm a heterosexual cis male, think of that whatever you will, I want my sex moments and whatever to be at least somewhat makes sense. And it just seems to me like as these movies as they go on, we're getting more and more sex scenes for no reason, or they're topless for no reason. The topless stuff you can kind of get away with because it was the 90s and that's kind of what he's known for, but it just seems to me like the sex scenes were going on a little too long.
Well, there was always, in the first 4, there were a lot of quick scenes of them, in the hot tub or changing or whatever. There's a lot more of it lingering for a longer time with them changing. And because I watched these back to back, it applies to both of these, but one of the most odd scenes was, I believe it was Do or Die, where they're in the plane and she has to jump out and it explodes.
No, that's in Hard Hunted, but yes.
That is in Hard Hunted? Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're, at least in that particular scene, like the lingering shots of getting changed, and just the timing is off. Like everything else is moving quickly, and then we just slow down for 30 seconds of a long shot of somebody getting changed, and then back, fast. It's like, find a way to make it work. It looked like a lot of it was being filmed so that they could cut together sexy trailers to sell to European markets.
Sure.
Like, for me, the one thing that kind of bothered me, and I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I've interviewed porn stars. Is the one actress who plays Silk, the Asian lady, she's constantly making out with Pat Morita and in like Do or Die. And that's fine, old people have sex too, it is what it is. But it just seemed a little bit weird and kind of gross.
I made a note, and my note for this, I wish I had paper to show you in front of you, was, did Pat Morita get paid in nudity?
Yeah, because that's what I mean, because it feels so unnecessary at times. And it's just like, it kind of takes away, because I think the character is kind of interesting, because you see this character come back in Hard Hunted, where she reveals she's a double agent. Although at the end of Do or Die, they're like, oh yeah, we've infiltrated Mr. Kane's agency, and now we have this girl named Silk who's going to feed us information, and we're not going to bust the guy right now. We're going to track him, see where he goes. Like I said, the birth of the ACU, I guess. And it's just like, okay. And then in the next movie, she gets randomly just knocked off by the guy, the fucking henchman guy. What's his name? Al Leon or whatever his name is?
Al Leon. I was happy to see him back. And again, it's still weird hearing him talk.
Yeah, it's so strange. And he's like, prepare Raven for takeoff. Fuck off.
Dude, I have things to say about that Hard Hunted helicopter, that gyrocopter that they have. I have things to say.
Yes, please.
Oh, do you want me to talk about it now?
Well, yes, please.
Because I think we've given up on plot. Plot is nuclear.
Yeah, nuclear stuff.
Things?
That gyrocopter crashed right after the filming of Hard Hunted and killed 2 people. It was never airworthy.
God.
It never received any accreditation from the FAA or the NTSB, and it crashed on takeoff because it was overloaded with 2 heavy people, and it wrecked into a berm, at the end of a takeoff.
So was this like a Twilight Zone sort of thing?
Twilight Zone was willfully negligent.
Yeah. Okay. This
to the point where they lost the court case.
This wasn't during the filming of the movie. This was after the filming.
Okay, it was after.
But that gyrocopter was not airworthy at all, and it's both interesting to be seeing it fly in Hard Hunted, and knowing that thing was basically a death trap. And
why didn't they just use they used a lot of models. They could have used a model for most of it and just built a facade.
They could have, but they chose not to. And Hard Hunted, I think, is the last film for Donna Spear, by the way. No, it's not. It's Fit to Kill. Fit to Kill is the next the last one that she does. It's the next one after Hard Hunted.
So
I did a look up at neither of them come back for the next one after that.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So who's the only one who's left from the original ladies?
Nobody.
Edie, maybe?
I don't think Edie comes
sucks.
back either. But you get what's her name? Oh my God, why can't I? Julie Strain. Thank you very much. I don't know why I'm having problems with names today.
Julie Strain, and then it looks like Bruce Penhall returns.
Yeah.
One thing I did like about Hard Hunted, just to go back to that, one thing I did like about Do or Die, just to go back for a second, I like how Sidaris does gimmicky stuff where they do the quarter scale air show. No reason outside of setting up the fact that they can have a remote control helicopter that kills people.
Well,
later on,
because Sidaris loves remote control things. Every movie has a remote control thing, and that cowskin briefcase is in every single one.
And seeing the remote control stuff, it made me think of my grandparents' neighbor was a retired firefighter, and he was in one of those old people clubs where they build larger remote control Yeah, and that's like, to me, I was like, I haven't seen one of those in like 20 years, because that was like a popular old white person thing. When people that retired and had money, that was their hobby for a long time, and now I don't really think people do that as much anymore.
Well, actually, Alice, it's weird that you mentioned that. So I went down a weird rabbit hole a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking at internet lost media or internet dark stuff, right? Stuff you really shouldn't go looking for. And I found out there was a pilot who used to do stuff with remote control helicopters. And this person was about 15 or 16 years old, remarkable pilot. And they could do incredible stunts and everything. So one day they were out filming something, and there was a catastrophic accident. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but let's just say the person did not survive, and it was all caught on camera.
Oof.
And I got to thinking while I was watching all these air stunts, thinking that takes a remarkable amount of skill to pull anything like that off. And I'm actually kind of surprised something like this, accidents like this, don't happen more often, because to fly an airplane is one thing, to fly a helicopter is another thing, because they're both different modes of flight, and you have to think about it kind of differently. Plus, you're on the ground, you're not in the cockpit, you're not feeling how that airplane moves.
And on top of that, you look at nowadays, we take things for granted with how advanced drone technologies become, right? Mm-hmm. Like now, if you remade one of these movies, it would all be drones. Everything. Like, could you imagine how happy Sidaris would be with what drones became?
Oh man,
he would have used them. He would have used them for, like, he would have made so many movies just with like crazy drones and weird attachments, because it's so cheap to, like, nowadays you could just go online, find a blueprint, 3D print an attachment or a shell for it, and make it look like anything.
And yeah, like, honestly,
think about like the beautiful landscape shots that he would have been doing with those drones filming, like, because he loved shooting landscapes and sunsets and things like that. Like, yeah.
And he had skill. He was limited by a lot of times the budget that he was given for film. So now it would have lost something. I still like the look of these movies from the fact that it's on film versus digital. Digital makes things look like a home video, but like what he could have done with a lot of the modern gadgets and tech, with the miniaturization of things that has happened in the last 25 years, like, you could make. I'm surprised people try to make movies like these now, but they always come across as way more home movie-ish or amateurish. What people need to do is maybe not even film digital. Maybe like literally go out and spend your budget on some actual 16 millimeter or 35 is probably too expensive now for most small budgets. But like, get some 35 or 16 millimeter film, shoot your movie, edit it on a computer like you modern movies do, but like, get that look right, get the costuming right. That just dress them in somewhere vaguely 90s clothing, and I think people would flock to it more. It's when everything looks so cheap because everybody's wearing the clothes on their back, and it's just, you know what I mean? Now you see a lot of movies popping up on the streaming, and they try to be like retro nostalgic action or horror, and it just comes across as so garbagey. Whereas this somebody like him, he could have done so much with how much money you can save now with technology.
Can I add one thing that I think helps Sidaris in these movies?
Course.
He has people acting in front of the screen, Donna Spear, Roberta Vasquez, Cynthia Brimhall, who know how to hold themselves for the camera, to really like grab people's attention, whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. But they're able to give off a presence on screen that maybe the low budget movies of today just can't have.
And that's what it is. With everybody thinking they can be an actor, and not even to say, oh, these women were great actors. It's not that. You're right. It's about the presence and how you present yourself. With everybody now, anybody can be on camera. I think it's that people sort of, not that they're slouching, but they don't put on the air that they're projecting for a camera, or that they're like, you have to have it in your head that I'm always being filmed, so I have to make sure that I look like I'm engaged with what's happening. And too many people now in cheap movies just sort of stand there and read their lines.
I think part of it also comes across is Andy knew how to pick people, or at least worked with the right people in casting. he got people who had a natural on-screen charisma and had a natural on-screen chemistry. Like when you look at how Donna and Nicole react, you really get the feeling that they're friends, and they probably were. I don't know, obviously, but I'm guessing that there's something about that kind of magically too. And Sidaris was so earnest, and I think how he made these, they're goofy and stupid. The thing that I love about the Sidaris, I guess, film mindset is, like you guys have said, he genuinely tries, but it feels like they're a parody movie you'd see on The Simpsons, but not Family Guy. And you're probably wondering, well, what the hell do you mean by that? You look at, and here's the example that I'm going to use. In The Simpsons, in the early seasons, there was the McBain series, right? You guys all know what the hell I'm talking about there.
Rainer Wolfcastle's McBain.
Yeah, but if you did that same gag on Family Guy, they would take it too far. There was no earnestness behind it. Whereas with Wolfcastle and McBain, it was played fairly straight. And if Bart says, oh man, there's this awesome movie, there's these bullets, there's these awesome hot girls, and they've got guns and stuff blows up, and he showed that to Homer, he'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. But if you did the same joke with Peter, Stewie, and Peter on Family Guy, it would be goofy and over the top. Sidaris rode that line.
Or stretched out too long and run into the ground.
Yeah, like Sidaris rode that line of goofy sincerity is how I would categorize his filmmaking.
It's a lot more goofy. Do or Die, we've sort of glossed over the plot because the plot doesn't really matter or make sense in this one.
It's assassins trying to kill them. The end. There's assassins.
Yeah.
There's a gun cane with a missile in it. There's is this the one where she says I'm Batman?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like who are you? I'm Batman, and she grabs a baseball bat and beats him. And obviously, this was this is right
91.
after. Yeah, so this was after '89 Batman, and right around the time we were getting Batman Returns. So obviously, that was a topical joke.
For sure.
Yeah, and then you got Eric Estrada throwing exploding baseballs, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, he again looked like they had some fun in here. I think where things took a change for the goofy was in Hard Hunted.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, Hard Hunted is the one I found the most difficult to get through, because in reading the Wikipedia article, they said Sidaris wanted this to be his version of You Only Live Twice. And obviously they're dealing with like higher stakes. They're talking about a nuclear trigger, which is hidden within a jade monkey or something fucking stupid like that.
Jade Buddha.
Yeah. And then there's randomly Donna loses her memory and basically gets raped by this guy. He's like, oh yeah, we were lovers. Oh, I guess I missed this. Let's fuck. And it's just,
like it's a little
That was upsetting.
So this is where
that was assault.
I saw that, rewinded for a second and went, what? And then I just went moving on.
Yeah.
And because it was just, I was like, this is not no. Like,
I don't believe that character would do that. Donna is stronger than that.
And so this is the airplane scene where I was laughing so hard watching, where there's scenes of an airplane with wind beside it, and then completely calm with a blue painted background outside the window while they're completely stationary in some garage filming. And they weren't even doing anything to like rock the plane because they probably didn't want the noise. And she beats up a guy, throws him out of the plane, and he gets thrown out so slowly, like he doesn't even resist. And that's where I was laughing. And then the dummy's just like waving in the wind as it falls to the ground. And the guy flying the plane's like,
oh dear,
don't use that grenade, bitch. You don't have the stones. And she opens the grenade, drops it. I counted to like 8 seconds before she slowly gets off the plane, and then it's another 10 seconds. Like it had a fuse that was like 30 seconds long.
Oh yeah.
And the guy flying the plane isn't looking where he's flying. He's reaching behind trying to grab the grenade, and the plane isn't moving. and then boom, and the way she falls out and uses her
Parachute?
another parachute, another dummy attached to it. She somehow lands and gets the I'll call it cartoon amnesia.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, I don't remember who I am, but I remember how to talk and do everything else, and I have no other head trauma to be found.
Oh, and because she has amnesia, she still remembers how to field strip a
Yeah,
pistol.
and she is reminded of who she is by Ava talking from K Sexy out of Malachi.
Yeah, like that was one of the most awkward action set pieces I've ever seen. Was the plane?
Oh yeah.
It was so that was out of everything we've seen from all the movies so far, that was the most inept thing, and he should have scrapped that scene and redone it.
Yeah,
there were clear mistakes made and just timing, and it's not just editing issues. They were slow to hit their marks and slow to react to things.
There should have been another take at the very least. Let's be fair.
Hard Hunted seemed more subdued in some ways in like some of the action sequences, but like I was saying earlier here in the show, this one felt like it had the most unnecessary lingering sexy shots, and I didn't really like it, and that's really unfortunate. And like I said, I just praised him for this goofy sincerity. You can have the sexy in it, and that's fine, but you don't need to linger on it for 10 to 15 seconds, and it screws up the pacing, I felt.
What was up with the Power Rangers Bulk and Skull type of enemies, that guys that were just goofy and then they blew up but had like traditional cartoon soot on them? They didn't actually blow up.
God, I don't get those guys, but they appear in a couple movies. So,
they reminded me, like I said, of Bulk and Skull from Power Rangers, or like they were almost like what's their names from the Ernest movies.
Oh, those two guys,
Bobby
Eddie,
and whatever.
Eddie, yeah.
And it's like, I was like, what? So he added like full blown cartoon comic relief. Not just that, like in these movies, people fire these like little tiny rockets that are like the size of firecrackers, but they blow up helicopters and people get blown to bits. Like you see them explode, and they had a bomb blow them. He put a helmet on. All he had were some torn clothes, some soot on his clothes, and then the helmet was on fire.
Yeah, like it's so fucking bizarre.
Like, he started like bending the rules of reality within the own movie. Like, and that's where I was like, ooh, I hope they don't go into self-parody, because like the movie itself, like I hope that he didn't get the. Like, I'd like it better when he's not trying to make a parody of a movie, when he thinks he's making a good movie, because then he makes a good bad movie.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. Like, I wonder if this is going to be the transition point between his early stuff and his later stuff, where you're either going to love it or hate it. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen when we watch our next two movies.
Series, even though there are a few of them, some of them are like produced by him but not directed by him. It's directed by his son. But it's a mix of him and new ideas that are coming in.
It actually, it looks like the next one, Fit to Kill, he directed, and then the next two he didn't.
Okay, so we'll have Fit to Kill coming up in our next show, and then Enemy Gold, which came out in 1993. So that'll be his son doing that one.
Kind of like the end of one era of his filmmaking, because that's like the last one where you have Donna Spear, Roberta Vasquez, Cynthia Brimhall, and Julie Strain's like the connective tissue between Fit to Kill and the later films.
And from what I've seen, like I just looking at trailers and that, this is where it transitions away from looking like a 80s or 90s or early 90s movie into looking more like direct-to-video late 90s stuff, and not like theatrical stuff.
So more like that Hulk Hogan Shadow Warriors bullshit, right?
It starts to look a lot more like made-for-TNT movies, but with boobs.
that sucks because I think that's something we're going to lose in this is when the budgets get lower and it starts to transition into that different look and vibe where the 90s were full of interesting direct-to-video action movies. Not all of them great, but not all of them bad either. Sidaris' stuff, like I said, in my experience from everything we've watched from Malibu Express to Current, like I said, has this genuine goofiness to it, but there's an authenticity and love for what he does. I'd be very curious to see what his thought process was as this series went on. And honestly, I'm going to miss the lead characters because I really like Donna. I like Nicole. I like Edie, not just because they're attractive, but because I like the weird rapport they built. They're like the IMF team, but with boobies. So
it's because they feel real and they don't feel like they were
like cartoon characters.
They don't feel like they were cast for being bimbos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for lack of a better term. There's that. I think a lot of this has to do with the shift that happened right around 95, 96. That was the rise of the basic cable and like Cinemax movie, right? Okay. Prior to this, the big market was still European theatrical, because they showed nudity. They had no issues with that, right? Mm-hmm. So European theatrical and the blockbuster home video purchasing.
So.
Right?
So sort of like that transitional period when we went from the Chuck Norris canon stuff into the more big budget Jean-Claude Van Damme and Seagal sort of stuff, right?
Back in the 70s and early 80s, it was all about renting out independent theaters and selling out indie screens before all the corporations made it almost impossible to do that. That's how Canon made their money. That's why everything was like $1 million a picture, because they knew they could make, all they cared about was getting double their investment. If they made $2 or $3 million, that was good. But then it started switching so that the movie theaters wanted to make like 20 times what they were, cost sort of thing. So there was that transition. Now it was the home video market was there. But remember what happened around like 94, 95 is we went from having like 15 cable channels to like 200.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Worldwide. And they started getting like, time shifted or specialty channels just for action or this. So I think the rise of like USA Network and TNT becoming big, and then of course Cinemax and all that started having their own movies, and those were of a lower budget, and those were primarily filmed with the intention of being full screen, and they used different lighting because they were expected to be for home video or television broadcasts, where they have to broadcast with a different brightness and all. Like, it's all technical stuff in the background, but that's why a lot of the changes happened where you saw like much lower quality, not even the budget, just lower quality video being used for like direct-to-video movies from like 96 to like 2002, when that whole market sort of dried up and we started getting just there was the dark ages, right, from 2002 until like Netflix became big, where there was not a lot of good direct-to-video stuff.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think, like a couple of months ago, me and Dave Denoyer talked about a series of movies that were on the USA Network called Cabin by the Lake and Return to Cabin by the Lake. And for all intents and purposes, they look like theatrical movies, but they have commercials cut into them. And because of the color grading, they look weird, but they're made for TV. And this is before Hallmark had really perfected their schmaltzy look of the holiday movie. And you're right, Alice, when Netflix really started to pour money into their direct to streaming stuff, it really started to look really great. Not like the early direct to kind of streaming stuff that wasn't all that good. Stuff that was mostly like the Asylum stuff meant for Tubi and stuff like that.
Yeah, and as it stands, there's still a lot, like, because of how cheap it is to make things now, there's a lot of dreck out there. But if you notice, the stuff that is made for streaming, that is made by reputable people, oftentimes now looks as good, if not better, than theatrical. And this is sort of, you could see the transition here happening like 92, 93. So, I mean, beyond that, we'll see where it goes. As it stands for Hard Hunted, this one, I'm trying to remember, did it have anything else really memorable out of it other than it was about nuclear? Oh yes, wait. Actually, I have one more thing about Do or Die.
Okay.
you know me and technology with the computers. The computers, Silk.
Those graphics were amazing. By the way.
Wait. Just like Silk looked like she had never touched a keyboard, let alone even a typewriter in her life. Because I looked and I was like, oh no, Alex, don't focus on things that aren't important. But I'm looking. She didn't have her hands resting in the standard like.
Oh, for fuck's sakes!
Like she had her fingers, her resting fingers weren't on ASD, they were on QWE, and I was like, that looks wrong. Why would she have her resting fingers there? And then I'm like, she's typing, and I'm like, okay, you don't have to type anything that looks real, but she wasn't pressing the keys the way you're supposed to. I'm like, you've never typed anything before, have you? But anyway, beyond that, she had things on her computer screen. But did you notice what they did? Because at the time, you could, even back in '92, it would have been like through a CGA monitor thing, some sort of setup. You could project using a projector what you see on your screen. It was more expensive technology, but it existed obviously already. Even in the early '80s, Xerox was doing stuff like that. It's not even that. They're using an overhead projector to project what appears to be a video, or they're using some sort of projector thing, and it's not a computer screen, but they're saying it's a computer screen. It's just a physical Bristol board they made that they poked holes behind.
Yeah.
With LEDs.
Yes. And like we're tracking their location. Look, like you're not tracking jack shit. You got like 5 blinking lights that don't move anywhere on the map. They just blink when they're. And I was like, that is the. What is the fuck? But then they had a thing on her screen that worked. Like your solution, because you couldn't blow it up larger, was to just make a computer screen in quotes that is just a blinking light board that you'd see in like a James Bond movie from 1962.
My favorite part of that entire sequence, I'm gonna riff on this too for a second, is when Silk is typing on the computer screen there. Somebody designed a GUI that says "Game of Death for your eyes only," and their names would just float in, and then they would explode.
That somebody programmed something to make people's names explode. Like,
and then when he loses the game, it turns into a cartoon stick of dynamite. Game over.
And they
Fuck off.
I think they did a mistake. They were using the actors' real names as their first names on the screen.
Yeah, because there was Len and Sledge and some other names. There was some weird ones in there.
There was a mix and match. Some of them were the characters' names, and some of them
because
were
their character names sometimes are their real names. So, like, Skip Ward plays a character named Skip. James Liu plays a character named Liu. Eric Chen plays a character named Chen. Like,
is it just like they couldn't be bothered to name them, or because they just thought it was easier to just call them by their name?
It was just, you know what? It made me think of Inspector Gadget and fucking Dr. Claw and the Mad Computer. It was fucking mind-boggling.
Like, watch, we're tracking them right now. You're tracking jack shit. You got a blinking light behind a what looked to be like a construction
my explanation
paperboard
for it is that Pat Morita, he just doesn't know what's going on. He's just like the old man that's kind of like lost his mind.
Silk tells him, I've made a tracking device. I went through this elaborate thing of making a computer program that tracks them on this screen. It's a goddamn Christmas tree that just lights up. There's
everyone around Pat Morita has been embezzling his company's money, and now they're trying to make him believe that all of this actually works. But he's too far gone to actually like question any of it. That's my explanation.
See, I think the movie would be much funnier if it's what actually was the plot. It's just it's an old man.
And it's like I still think like when they were offering him the role, because he was still doing other things at that time. This is he had just done like
Karate Kid 2.
3, I think, was just out, and he had done, and 4 was out like a year or two later. The one with what's her name taking over, I forget.
Hilary Swank, right?
Yes, yeah, and it's like he was still doing stuff. It's like, did you offer him like catering, and then you get to both be in bed, touch her boobs, and then also you get to get on top of her and give her a massage? Like, is that what he was paid in?
I'd like to know what his contract looked like. I'm very curious, because that just seems like I don't know whether Pat Morita is any sort of a weird person in Hollywood. I honestly don't know.
I doubt it would have come out by now, if anything. But it was just an odd, like
weird.
He had more sex scenes than Eric Estrada
Well,
in the movies.
It is weird, but I have to think like some of the payment for like these actors are, you get to go to Molokai and stay for like 2 months in the Hawaiian Islands, and we're gonna pay you in room and board for part of it. Like.
Oh, I fully bet that's what it was, and that's how it a lot of times is. Like, there were like an example of that was, what was the movie?
Anything Adam Sandler does, you basically
was it Shipping News or one of these movies? And I believe all the actors ended up saying that they chose to do, because it was filmed in, like, I think it was Newfoundland or Nova Scotia. And a lot of them, it was a lower budget picture. They did it because it was an all expense paid vacation to the East Coast.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it was it Russell Crowe did one or something like that? Yeah, it was Russell Crowe did one, and he did it because he really just wanted to stay in Newfoundland for a few weeks and go fishing and get away from it all. And they'll take a pay cut if it means it's basically a paid vacation, to one of the coasts.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think these two are probably some of the worst ones we've seen so far. They're watchable in their own way.
There's nothing in either of these movies that will make me want to go back to it, like the scene in where the guy is interrogating the other people and pulls out the shotgun and just
you can negotiate with
the police station.
With the terrorists.
Like that.
Like, what the...
Yeah, like that. There's nothing like that in I'm Batman. The funny gadgets,
exploding baseball.
There's a few little moments here. A lot of drones. I did laugh when the assassins went to go after them in the little cabin, and it's just the dummies in there, and one ninja goes, "Hey, what's that?" And he points, and there's
the helicopter,
helicopter with the little tiny rockets, and he goes, the other guy goes, "Uh-oh," and then boom, let's basically blow up. They blow up, they get blown to smithereens, and there's nothing left of them. They're just shredded. That's the same size weapon that was used on the two dummies, the Wile E. Coyote people, and nothing happened to them. They're invincible. There's a conspiracy. They're invincible. They're immortal gods of comic relief.
Cheat codes. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of Loose Cannon's Summer of Sidaris. So the next time we join you here during this wonderful summer, we're going to be taking a look at two more films from the Sidaris film catalog. We're going to be taking a look at Fit to Kill, which came out back in 1993, and also came out in 1993 was Enemy Gold. And then we are starting to come into the home stretch of the Sidaris movies, and then we'll probably do kind of an overall kind of wrap up to talk about this, and then we'll kind of see whatever happens during this summer. So hopefully you guys are enjoying your summer vacation. Depending on when this airs, Alex may already be off on vacation, or we may be taking our Twig vacation right now because you don't know when this was recorded. Ha ha ha. Hopefully the world hasn't ended. So whatever. But anyway, so yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up on the program for the rest of the year. Like I said, we are doing a bunch of interesting stuff between me, Dave, JT, and Ken. So stay tuned for more of those. Me and Aaron will be doing more stuff with Future Imperfect later on. We've actually had an interesting conversation before we recorded tonight. Last year, we were talking about doing a show on cryptids, and I think maybe we're going to revisit that topic for when Alex takes his Odin sleep to repair the website for the entire month that he always takes off.
Yes, that's always the make sure everything is running, and also it's been almost 4 years. It might be time to actually look at revamping the site for something new.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, we definitely thank you for coming out with us to the Twig video store. As always, if you want to get in touch with us, feedback at thisweekingeek.net. You can also find us on the social medias at ThisWeekInGeek. We always look forward to hearing from you. So for This Week in Geek from the great city of Kitchener, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I'm Aaron Pollyea
from Lansing, Michigan. And I've been your host, Mike the Birdman, saying be kind, rewind. We'll catch you next time right here on the Summer of Sidaris.
Are either one of these any good? Sir,
What?
are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Quick! Change the channel!
You're wasting your life making shit! Nobody cares! These movies are terrible!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
Hard Hunted. They're back. The sexiest G-men in G-strings. This time, they're hot on the trail of a stolen nuclear trigger device.
The most valuable artifact in the world. Kill everyone who stands in your way.
I have a feeling I can forget about my tan.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Survival of the fittest. Hard Hunted. Someone will not get out of this alive.